about a 15-second delay today. The delay is different on different days. So when you post a comment, it's going to take at least 15 seconds before I see it. So keep that in mind. And good afternoon. Welcome to Go for Lunch number 24. We just keep streaming along. Here we are live from Studio A. I am Roger Harmon from GoFor Technology, where we like to teach you how to make your technology work for you. So our whole reason for being here on YouTube is to help you learn more about the technology that you use in your everyday life, and so you can take advantage of letting that help you instead of frustrate you. So that's the whole idea, and part of that is this is a place where you can ask questions, and we don't think there are any stupid questions. There aren't any stupid questions. So when you ask a question, it's going to help you and probably going to help some other people. So don't hesitate to put a question in the comments. And like Leslie Ann is ready to know about 5G. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today is 5G. What is 5G? Well, 5G, the G is generation. So this is the 5th generation of cellular service. And what that means is that in order to make 5G work, they've got to add, hi Ann, they've got to add to the 4G infrastructure that's already in place. And then there's still 3G in some areas. So now they're going to add on top of that the 5G. So you're going to have all of it. It's not like 4G is going to go away and be replaced by 5G. They're going to coexist. So that's one little thing to think about. And I see Sherman is here. Thanks for watching, Sherman. I want to explain today what is going on with 5G so you can separate the hype from the facts. So we're calling this 5G fact or fiction. And I kind of subtitled it 5G whiz. There's a big question mark right there after 5G. So let's look at a map, shall we? A map that shows cellular coverage. So this is showing the 5G coverage in Tucson, and this is for um, okay, I thought I knew who this was for. I think this is for Verizon. So Verizon is claiming that they have the best 5G coverage in the country. That's the fiction. The fact is they do have 5G. They say they have it in 60 cities as of, I think, this week or last week. But the facts are, that's the fiction, the facts are that you have to be in a certain place, in a certain position, basically in direct line of sight to the 5G transmitter receiver. We'll call it a transceiver, to get service. And if you go around a corner of a building, your 5G is gone. Because the range in 5G, I've heard 500 feet quite a bit. The other day I heard 800 feet. That's as far as a 5G signal can go reliably from the transceiver to your cellular device. So that's a little bit of a problem. So how do they get these purple lines here? They do this by what we call crowdsourcing. So that means that people have opted in to let this company, which is called NPERF, N as in November, PERF, and you can find this at nperf.com if you'd like to look at it further. They just track cellular phones, and they can tell where 5G is working. So now if we zoom in on this picture, you can see the closer in we get, the bigger gap. So like if you're driving along Grant Road, right about there, you lost your 5G. And we know how fun that is not. Or if you're on Grant Road and you're going east of Swan, you see there's no 5G coverage there. So this is very, very spotty. So here's basically the bottom line here for the 5G coverage in Tucson and many other smaller metropolitan areas. So if you're not in the top 60 metropolitan areas, and I don't think Tucson quite made the list, then the chances of you having reliable 5G are not very good probably until the year 2022. So there's going to be some 5G, like you see here. This is the University of Arizona, so they've got a fence around the U of A of 5G, and obviously the 5G they're getting the signals off of people that are driving down the streets. That doesn't mean necessarily there isn't any 5G in these areas that don't have purple, but it's just the way they're tracking it. So there could be more 5G than this. So one thing to remember is don't trust the carrier's coverage maps. So if you go to AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile and you look at their coverage map, I wouldn't trust that. So that's why I'm going to third parties that are tracking this stuff. So my favorite third-party tracker is a company called Root Metrics. That's ROOT Metrics, METRICS. You see it here in the upper left-hand corner. So here we are tracking Verizon. So you can see here at the top, this is the cellular coverage for Verizon. And here at the bottom, the white is no coverage. So you can see there's lots of places there's no coverage. I think this is Davis-Monthan here in the lower right. And then there's places where they have 3G and 2G, which you can see there's a little string of that here. And then 4G is the predominant coverage. So all this in the kind of, what color would we call that? Maybe blue. or what's the word I'm looking for? Turquoise, maybe? I don't know. So you can see this is the mostly, the city is covered in the 4G LTE. So they call it LTE, but it is fourth generation. It's LTE. Now you see right here in the middle, there's 5 little dark blue squares, which means 5G. So if we do zoom in on those, and see we're at Campbell, this is Speedway, and this is Campbell. Okay, so when we click on these hexagons, which are representing a cell, so this is called cellular, right? So these are the cells right here. So that's basically what they expect the cell, one cell, to cover. So this is supposedly 5G. So when we click on this hexagon, it tells us that this in fact is 5G. So you see there, 5G. We click on the next one, it's 5G. We click on this one, it's 5G. We click on this one, it's 5G. And we click on that one. So all 5 of these are 5G. But if we click out here, this is LTE. So all this other is LTE. So even between these two 5G cells, they can't even reach, enough to cover this area in between them. So that kind of gives you an idea of the range of 5G. Again, probably 500 feet, maybe 800 feet, but the building penetration is terrible. So if you're going to a store, like if you're even in the middle or the back of a grocery store or a big box store, your 5G phone is not going to work, even if they had one of these cells, these 5G cells, right in front of the store. So we're going to switch carriers. So Verizon, of course, is known as the best coverage in the country. But from my research that I've been doing for this program, a lot of people are saying that AT&T is very close. Like in some areas, Verizon is like 72% coverage and AT&T is 70%. So it's really depends on where you are. So this is why this RootMetrics tool is good. So if you're deciding, do I want to change carriers, you need to look at the RootMetrics data and see if where you live and where you work or where you frequent has the coverage, a good coverage for that carrier. So you can determine whether you need to spend the extra money because Verizon is also the most expensive, and or you can use a carrier that is a little less expensive but has coverage in your area. So there's AT&T. Let's look at T-Mobile. So there's T-Mobile's coverage. And so these you can see here. So let's see if we can get back into the U of A area just to keep apples and apples going on here. So there's Elm and there's North University. Okay, here's Campbell and Speedway right here. So when we click on this, you see this is 5G. So all these in the darker color here are 5G. So what does that tell us? It tells us that T-Mobile at this moment in time has the best 5G coverage in Tucson, which would be great except for one small detail. There are 3 kinds of 5G. So the G-Whiz 5G, which is supposed to let you download a movie in just seconds, and is supposed to help self-driving cars make decisions in a nanosecond to keep from hurting somebody. That's called the millimeter wave, MM wave 5G. And that's the one that has this 500-foot range. So you can see, to make it work, they've got to fill on all this area between the major streets to, I mean, can you imagine you're in your self-driving car and you drive up a mountain here, and so you're right here, you get right in there, there's no coverage at all on T-Mobile. So to get complete coverage, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of infrastructure. It's going to be a lot of money to install those transceivers. The bright side is there's going to be a lot of jobs being given out to do that. So that's a good thing. So this, oh, I see. So the white is actually untested. So we don't know. It's the fact that somebody that has been cooperating with RootMetrics by downloading their app, which I will show you here in a second, hasn't driven in that area. So that's what the white means. So there may be coverage there, may not be coverage. So back to the three kinds of 5G. So there's the millimeter wave, which is the highest frequency. Then there's the mid band, and then there's the low band. So the lower the frequency, the greater the range. That's range being greater right there. See that? So that is the key to this. So that the T-Mobile is not the millimeter wave, is not the super fast, and it is, however, is more deployed than anybody else in the Tucson area. So, well, so Leslie Ann, that's a very good question. So Leslie Ann asked can the carriers coordinate? Well, no, they could, but they won't because it's called competition. So they're all racing against each other to to get out the 5G product so they can make the money off 5G. So they're not going to cooperate at all. Now, one little interesting fact is that the towers that these the existing LTE 4G system goes on, many of the towers are not owned by this carriers. They are owned by third-party companies that lease them out to the carriers. So that's why you can see in that case they're kind of cooperating because the carrier doesn't own the tower, another company does, so they can put space on their tower for several different carriers. So that is kind of cooperation there. So let's do this. Let's go back here, and I'm going to show you how this works. So if you would like to be part of this big experiment for tracking 5G, you could download the RootMetrics app, and it looks a lot like this. So I just downloaded it on my my test iPhone so you could see it from the very beginning. So the way it works is that they're looking at a consumer-focused mobile performance coverage map. So you are part of the process. So once we get in there, you'll see that there are layers, much like the little hexagons we saw here. Not hexagons. Yeah, hexagons. So in here you see the blue, and I don't have a pointer here, so you're just going to have to follow my verbal explanation. So at the top of that little rectangle there it says super fast. So that's the dark blue, faster, fast, moderate, slow, and untested. So that's the way they chart it on here, and you'll see in a minute. And then they have a dashboard where you can choose your network and choose your cellular service, whether it be 4G or 5G. And then if you click on a particular cell, it will give you more information, and then it also will give you the download speed. And they want you to tell them how this is working. So we're going to get started. So we're going to click on this, and we're going to can we move this around? I guess not. So I probably should not have done this on a new phone because it doesn't have any data. So we'll just say while using the app. Okay, so save the setting. Okay, so we're going to go, oops, I guess we're zoomed out a little bit here. Okay, so there's a setting there for, and you can't really tell whether it's 5G or what, but it looks like most of this is LTE. You see the kind of the turquoise color there. So now we're going to turn off the layers, and we are going to pinch to zoom and come right in here to Arizona and come back down to Phoenix and Tucson, and here we are. Okay, so it's filling in. So this is Verizon. You can see at the very top there in the white letters, it says Verizon, best technology found. And just like we saw on the computer, here is those 5 cells that Verizon actually has 5G operational in Tucson at the moment. So you can do this right on your iPhone. It's kind of fun. So if you want to change your carrier, we're on Verizon, so you slide sideways, and now we're on T-Mobile. You hit apply at the bottom of the screen, and as you can see again, we're getting a lot more 5G coverage, but it's not the same coverage. So the Verizon is as far as I know, is the millimeter, the super fast, the millimeter wave, whereas the Verizon is the low band, which is not as fast. And maybe from a lot of the reports that I have read, sometimes the 5G is not as fast as the 4G LTE. So speaking of that, so if you had a 5G phone, which you don't need to get right now, all the new iPhones do have 5G, and so that would be the reason to get a new iPhone right now would not be to get 5G. The reason to get a new iPhone right now is, number one, the cameras are amazing. So if you're into photography at all, that's a good reason. And the second good reason is if you have, say, an iPhone 6 or older, it's time. You should update because you're missing out on a lot of the features that have come along since your iPhone 6 or older iPhone. So, but 5G is not a reason to get an iPhone. I think that's kind of the point here of this presentation, to let you know that don't go out and buy an iPhone just because of 5G, because you won't get 5G, not for a couple of years here in the old Pueblo. So hopefully you have the idea here. So again, you want to look at all your different carriers. T-Mobile is definitely in the lead in Tucson for low band 5G, but not the millimeter wave, not the super fast. Now, some people have thought that the super fast millimeter wave 5G would replace their cable modem. They could use that to get their internet. And some people that don't have cable, that only have CenturyLink, for example, are looking forward to that. However, it's probably going to be expensive. So there's always going to be trade-offs, right? Okay. So while you're thinking about any 5G questions that you might have, let's see, let me look at something right here real quick. Okay. Let me tell you about something else real quick here. So let me go and pull up another page here in Safari. And okay, so you're not going to let me do it. All right, so we're going to do it over here. So because of the situation that we are in, webcams have become very difficult to come up with at a reasonable price. So Logitech, or the webcams that I'm using here, I have two Logitechs, and they cost around $60 before all this happened. Now, if you can find them, they're like $200, $300. So they're back ordered everywhere. And my theory is that large corporations have put in large orders for webcams, and Logitech couldn't keep up with that, so the consumers lost out because there wasn't enough to go around. So when I find a web camera which looks like a good deal and a high quality camera, I pass that along to you. And okay, I hate it when my technology doesn't work for me. I'm trying. Don't tell me you're locked. There we go. Okay, now we got it. So Costco, your favorite and mine. Costco, right now until the 25th of October, 5 more days, while supplies last, have a web camera. It's called the AverMedia C or PW313C. Okay, and it is a nice camera. Let me show you a little bit more about it here. Okay, I guess we have to click. There we go. So this is what it looks like. It has a privacy screen that slides across the lens. And it has a mount, so you can mount it on top of your monitor. Or you can also, so that's a side view showing you how it mounts. This is the lens off on the right here. And it also has a tripod mount, so you can put it on a tripod like I have this camera over there and put it anywhere. So that's what it looks like on top of your monitor. It has a 360-degree rotation, so you can kind of rotate it. And that's what the box looks like. So the question is, what is the quality of this camera? So here we are. We're on a Logitech 922. So look at my my facial, my coloring on my face. Look at the red. Look at the detail in the background. Look at this box right here. I see the blue box here. And now I'm going to switch to the Cam 313. So, to me, the quality looks a little better. A little more detail. You can see a little more detail here in this box and all these different things in the background. And this background over here, I just noticed this. Seems to be the contrast is better. So if we switch back to the Logitech, watch the contrast over here on this monitor, just the black compared to the light colored wall. So it's a little different angle. They are actually right next to each other. They're like this far apart, so the angle changes quite a bit. So that's the Logitech, and that is the AverMedia PW313C. So $54.99. You can order them online. Minimum or maximum order of 2, I think. And normally they're $69, $70. So you're saving $15. And it is a decent camera. I've been running it for several days now, and it seems to work just fine. So any questions on webcams or 5G? So there's a good article in the New York Times. If you subscribe to the New York Times, you might want to look it up. And let's go look at that here. I have it kind of... let's get rid of this guy here. Okay, why doesn't that want to go away? Okay, looks like Keynote is not cooperating with us today. So I'll just summarize it for. So basically, they said the same thing that I'm saying here is, and now I'm on the Avermedia 313 camera. That it's a lot of hype, a lot of marketing lies. Is, if you want to just come out and say it, they're lying to us. Verizon, I think, got some kind of a ding from the Better Business Bureau about their advertising practices. AT&T has been saying they had 5G E for many months now, which is only marketing and not any technology. So all these big companies, greedy though they may be, are lying to us on top of being greedy. So use these third-party sources. Use this resource sitting here, talking to you before you buy a new cell phone, new iPhone. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to help you pre-purchase. So let's wrap this puppy up. Remember, as always, have mask. Will travel. So I can help you in person. I can also help you remotely by screen sharing, which usually works. It's not that reliable these days. Also, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and feel free to forward copies of the GoFor Gazette to your friends and neighbors, and encourage them to subscribe as well. Let's see. Right. So good question. Kurt mentions that he mentions that he needs to still add his picture to his little YouTube account there. You're a good-looking guy, Kurt. You need to, share it with the world. So Mac Deep Gab, which is one of our favorite podcasts, Bob Wood and Kurt and I, mentioned that the frame rate is important. So the frame rate on this camera is 30 frames per second, which is kind of a standard. So it's not real fast. So the frame rate is how fast the camera can track movement like that. So there's the the movement on the one at Costco. There's the movement, and I think they're both 30 frames a second. So it seems like it's doing a pretty good job on my side here, at least, tracking any kind of movement. So I think the frame rate is fine for anything that you might want to do. So if you need to upgrade your appearance, get beyond that crummy camera that came on your laptop. Even Apple MacBooks have crummy cameras, except for the new 16-inch MacBook Pro. Then a webcam is a good way to do that. Audio is most important because your video is only as good as your audio, and then next is your video quality. So, as always, if you have any questions anytime, you can always get a hold of me on the telephone or on the email. So until we meet again, have a great day, and thanks for coming.